America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and I come to you live every Friday, usually at 4 o'clock, but today I'm doing it at 3 o'clock because it's Thanksgiving vacation, and honestly, after this, I go and I want to hang out with my kids. So, I do want to, I wasn't going to do this show, but I want to talk about Thanksgiving, so this is me talking about Thanksgiving. Thanks is very important. Also, forgiveness is very important. Thanksgiving, forgiving, both have giving in the title for reasons we're going to talk about, but it's necessary for community. It's not an accident that this holiday was cooked up by Lincoln in order to get the the northern whites to forgive the southern whites or whatever, or vice versa, because they could all agree on, I don't know, sweet potato pie. But we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't know if I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to talk about a little bit about Thanksgiving and forgiving after I hit the opening.
To the beach, y'all.
Yeah. Sound good to me. Never change the ways for the world or the government. If I was the president, then I would state facts. You leave it up to me, I'll paint the White House black and ain't no future in your front.
So I'm going to talk, why is Thanksgiving important for a community, or actually necessary? Here's the deal. In order for us to be a people, a unified people, we need a shared fate. We do not have a shared fate. And also we need to be actually decent to each other. We need to fulfill contracts to each other. We need to actually enable each other through civil society and immediate relationships. We need to actually mutually accommodate each other. It's not just enough to have choice. If you just have choice, then you're choosing among options that are provided for you by nature, which doesn't care about you, or by people who might be crooks, right? So in order for you to have choice among options that themselves reflect you, this includes the labor market, you need the people who are providing the options, who create the world out of which you choose, and then you create the world for them, to actually have you in mind. And be good and be thoughtful people. Right. So it's not, freedom isn't just a subjective state about like my choice. It's about the world that I have to choose from. When I talk to students about this, I always talk about the vegetarian who walks into a restaurant, has a choice between chicken, beef, or fish. And that's a choice, but it's not freedom. For that to be freedom, it has to be like a hummus option with something also vegetarian, right? So choice isn't enough. The options among which you choose have to be actually reflective of you. And that means the options among which you choose have to be made by a person who's thinking about you. Like I said, if it's made by nature, it's just fixed by nature. They can't accommodate to you. But other people can actually accommodate to you. And if they're free and you're free, then they can accommodate you to your freedom, right? In the same way that if they're under pathology, if they're like an addict or something, they can't accommodate you. Their way of provisioning goods from which you choose is going to be governed by their addiction, right? It's not going to be about your freedom. It's going to be governed by their addiction. You can't ask a meth addict to hold, $1,000 for you for a few days, right? Like, even if they want to do the right thing by you, their addiction has, that has power, right? So, so for you to be free, you need to be choosing among options themselves that are provisioned by free people. And there you go. Number one. And that means they need to be free people and like good people. They can't be governed by addictions or pathologies or hypocrisies. They can't say they're going to meet you at 5 and then like just blow you off. That's going to be a problem because your freedom depends on being able to make plans and realize them, right? And the plans that you make are going to entail other people. Even if you, make plans on sending your kids to school, and that's entail the schools being open. Right. So for you to be able to make plans and realize them, other people have to kind of play along. And other people tend to be hypocrites. They say one thing and do another, or they talk. And so we could be in a position where we morally judge them about like, oh, you're a hypocrite, blah, 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 blah. Or we could actually be in community with them and like help them figure out a way to not hurt us in a productive manner. And we could forgive them. We can thank them for provisioning for us. I mean, that's a whole lot of what grace is at school. We thank the grace. At dinner and meals, we thank the hands that prepared the food and everything that went into it, and both Jesus Christ and Jesus who picked the food. Like, we thank all of them, because like that's provisioning us to actually, then come to eat, right? So we need to actually thank the people who are provisioning for us, and we need to forgive them for their inadequacies, right? And this is very important, because this is what Black people screw them up. We're just forgiving people. We just like, you shoot us, and then like our mom will come out. Hopefully my mom won't do this. Mom, if you're watching this, I don't think she watches this. If I get shot, do not forgive anyone. Nope. Nah. Unless they're willing to change everything. I'm talking about putting all white institutions under Black control, under receivership from people I will name in my will. They'll take over the white church, the white school districts, and, white family, focus on the family has to be transferred to the person I name. And then you could forgive them because they'll make themselves forgive worthy, right? So, by the way, whoever takes me out, if someone tries to take me out or if succeeds in taking me out, I don't want you to forgive them. I don't even want you to talk about them. I want you to go to their pastor. I want you to go to all their teachers. Just research them, Google. And I want you to go to their parents and their spouses and their siblings. I want you to investigate. I want an autopsy of whoever has the audacity to try to take me out for spreading the truth. And I want you to investigate all of those institutions and reform or revolutionize all of them. I don't care about the person who does it. Whoever is so cracked out that they're trying to take shots on me, and I do get my death threats. By the way, if you support what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, because depending on who you talk to, I make myself downright unemployable. And I gotta keep my kids in lessons, right? Like my kids take violin. My youngest daughter is a violinist, and my older daughter is a cellist, and I got to get piano lessons for the 3-year-old, except I'm going to wait till he's 3.5. But like all of this takes money, right? And I'd also like to grow the platform and have a marketing budget and a website that gets updated more often and all that stuff. So go ahead and kick into www.funkyacademic.com if you care about forgiveness and thankfulness. I like my thanks in cash. Actually, no, credit. Credit's fine because you can set up a reoccurring donation, and those are great because I get to budget. So why is it important to forgive and to be thankful? Because those are the building blocks of community, right? And so the objective conditions of freedom are not strictly objective. They do concern the subjective characteristics of the people you're dealing with. They have to be the kind of people who can show thanks and forgiveness, right? And you have to be the kind of person who can identify your own hypocrisies and be in community with the people you're dealing with who have their own hypocrisies and help each other kind of go forth through it. Not excusing it, but forgiving it as we move on. Right? So Black people get in trouble because we just forgive everybody without asking them to be forgiveness worthy. And so that's the intervention I want this video to make. We have to stop forgiving people who are not committed to being forgiveness worthy. Right? And that just takes like willing to look at the institutions that made them into the kind of person whose hypocrisy leads them to harm us. If they're not willing to do that, and white people, I can have names. I mean, I can list the institutions that are screwing you up. If you're not willing to do that, then you're not making yourself forgiveness worthy. And I think we should just have a moratorium on forgiveness until they show like a real atonement, which is like, I'm willing to actually do something different. There was one of the Koch brothers who's been funding all of these awful both think tanks and political initiatives for a few decades, like said, whoops, we might have zigged when we should have zagged in terms of some of these initiatives. But like, that's not real atonement. That's not real atonement. That's not looking at the damage you did and figuring out how you're on the wrong side of the argument. That was like, it doesn't work. And this is, okay, so we get confused, and this goes all the way back to the Civil War, right? So you read the documents that Lee was producing after the surrender of the Civil War, and it's like, we lost because we were outgunned and outmanned. It wasn't so much that we were wrong. There was no there was just like, we were, like it was a tactical mistake. We didn't lose because we were on the wrong side of the cause. We lost because the North has more military and more bullets. And shucks, it should have gone the other way, but we lost. We surrender. Right? So that's not, we don't, and we didn't take that seriously as a nation, sufficiently seriously. And that's why after Reconstruction, we were just kind of abandoned to the Klan. And we didn't go in and change Southern schools and churches and, the way they think about families, because the South is barely even democracy. Especially at that time, it's pretty much an aristocracy. It's a landed gentry kind of running things, own little fiefdoms. And we're not serious about democracy, and even Democrats down here aren't really serious or particularly knowledgeable about democracy because it's just not in the culture. So we didn't actually take the business of atonement and doing and figuring out that damage and how reconciliation correctly, right? And that's why there's still just like a low-lying civil war, and blacks have lost it. Hey, Heather Cox, I haven't read the book, but I just got it, and it happens to be right here, about how the South won the Civil War. So I'm a little curious about what she has to say about it. I suspect it's going to be good, because I think the South won the Civil War because they won all of the cultural institutions. Like they kept their churches, their schools, and their family structure, and that was enough. They even kept kept their property, right? So like people say bad things about Castro, letting all the bad Cubans go to Miami, but we kept all of our bad Southerners, and I don't know if that was much better, and kept them intact, right? So you can't expect to be forgiven and stay intact. So you need to make yourself forgiveness worthy, and then you need to be the kind of person who can look into your own hypocrisies and understand that you need to forgive other people for their hypocrisies. And that way we can be a community and actually reconcile. A true reconciliation, not a false reconciliation that's just kind of a cover over what is really just a system of oppression and continued degradation. Right? So if you're willing to so you need to be the kind of person, not just overly judgmental insofar as they hold on to themselves as like morally superior and aren't looking to like look at their own hypocrisies, to forgive to see that in other people as forgiveness worthy in other people, then you're going to be a problem. And also, if you're the kind of person who's not willing to be actually like worthy of forgiveness because you don't want to let go of the bad things that you happen to like, then that's going to be a problem for a community too. So we need to think seriously, because these are like fundamental building blocks of what a just community is. One with a shared fate and kind of a shared sensibility is one that can forgive and be thankful for the provisioning that we do for each other. Both material provisioning and like spiritual and cultural provisioning that we do for each other and providing for each other. And even when we don't do it perfect, we have to forgive each other, and we have to always strive to do better and be thankful for the work that because the only way we're free is because other people kind of domesticate the world. This is hard to teach to Americans because a lot of we like to think that like we're free with nature. We can just go out to the park or out to Walden Pond. But like, look, America is not nature. There's no part of America that's nature. We've domesticated the entire nation. Like my dad's from Ghana, where nature, he knows nature, and nature is what eats you. Nature doesn't care. So what we have in America is just the whole nation is one big park. And the parks you go to are really just gardens, right? So if you think that that's nature, you don't know nature, right? So you're not free in nature. You're free because of the domesticated mutual provisioning and mutual accommodation that we provided for each other. And that is what we should be thankful for. Now, the left has a problem because they think like food grows in grocery stores. We need to start talking about the production and the provisioning we do for each other. And Thanksgiving is as good a time as any of it to realize that a lot of the options and a lot of like the cultural feedback we get is other people producing for us. And that's why I do this. I am producing culture. I do it for the culture. And like I said, I like my thanks in cash. I mean, the nice email is good, but like I like cash. And I like the reoccurring cash. And you can do that at the website. So thankfulness and forgiveness. I am not as thankful as I should be. I'm also not as forgiving as I should be. I can work on this. It's a growing edge. We don't really have a forgiveness time like our Jewish brothers and sisters do. I think we should probably, as a nation, think about that, because I think that would be good for us as a people. But we also have to think about what does it take to make ourselves forgiveness worthy? And are we willing to do that? Like, we Black communities forgive white communities without asking them to let go of any of their toxic nonsense. And then we're surprised when they're still shooting us in the street or putting us in jail for, making them nervous. Boo. So thankfulness and forgiveness is very important, but it's not just a subjective state. You have to actually make yourself, or the other subjective aspect of it is making yourself, the will to make yourself forgiveness worthy and, worthy of other people thanking you. Right. So, and that means often letting aspects of yourself go that really are not particularly good aspects, but you feel entitled to keep, and aspects of your family, aspects of your church, aspects of your schooling. You have to let them go in order to be the kind of person that other people can get over themselves and come to forgive or come to thank. So thank you for your time, and I will see you next week. Peace. If you appreciate the work I do every week and you think that I should continue to do it because I'm giving you the quality of political knowledge and insight that will help you not squander your life and kind of rescue meaning from it, then go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, or make one enormous donations. I like the monthlies because it allows me to budget more, and that'll help me, with a marketing budget or getting better equipment that works all the time, because in a lot of ways, freedom means having equipment that works every time you turn it on. And I want to be a free Negro. So, if you like what I do, go to funkyacademic.com and contribute. Thanks often comes in the form of cash, and the site takes